we went through our data analysis stuff, and we were looking at things that we found that our fourth graders needed. And one of the things that they needed was math objective 1.01, I'm going to read it to you. Develop number sense for rational numbers 0.01 through 99,999. Connect, model, number word, and number using a variety of representations. Build understanding of place value, hundreds through 10,000s. Compare and order rational numbers. Make estimates of rational numbers in appropriate situations. And we've been talking about differentiation and that kind of thing. And one of the things that we found was there's a math site, and it is on the CRT resource page. And it's NSA.gov, and I've been just raving about this site because it's written. There are lesson plans on there written by the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and it covers the 4 math strands. And there are bunches of them by grade level, and they put them in there by years. Now, some of them, apply to our standard of courses study, and some of them do not. But sometimes people are a little afraid to start something new or to try something new, and we thought this was a good website to use. So what we did is we chose a lesson plan that we're going to do a synopsis of very briefly to show you what one of the lesson plans would be. On these sites, they give rubrics. There's literature, there's pre-assessment, there's post-assessment, there's extension, there's reteaching. All the lesson plans involve some of the, that kind of stuff. Not all of them involve literature. Some of them, like I said, don't quite apply to our standard course of study for the state of North Carolina. But, you can always adapt some of these to make them fit what you need. But everything was there. And it's all hands-on. So, it's really great. So we're going to start out with that. And Ms. Whitley is going to start with the initial part of it. Before she starts, I'm going to hand out... this was kind of long, so I didn't make one copy of it. But this is a copy of the lesson plan. It's called 101 with Decimals. And it shows, it takes 3 days, and it says 60 minutes for each day. And that sounds like a lot for some people because they don't have 60 minutes of math. And hopefully you do. But if you don't, these can be adapted. But it gives the student outcomes. And from what we can tell, the student outcomes of what they learn, and if they can master it in those 3 one-hour periods, and you don't have to go back and do a whole lot of reteaching, then it's worth the time. So I'm going to pass this around. It's got all the materials with it. I mean, everything's here so you can look at it and just look over it and check out the site because there's bunches of stuff to look at. Ms. Whitley.
Well, the first thing we wanted to start with was the pre-assessment. Now, for the pre-assessment, we were just looking, we picked decimals, and the first thing we could see what the children know about decimals. We didn't bring them today, but it doesn't matter. Imagine you have a calculator in your hand, you give the child a calculator, and you distribute it to each student, and you say, I'm going to tell you an amount of money, and I want you to input that into the calculator. And then while they're doing that, you just walk around and see if the child knows how to do that. Let's say you put $4.30, $2.15. You just give them different amounts of money and see if they know how to put it into the calculator. And then after you're done, how do you put $6.95? What does that dot mean? See if they know where they are as far as their place value with decimals. And that's a good place to start for your pre-assessment. And then from there.
Okay. And then you would do, for my kids this would be fun, I'm pretty sure it would be for yours too. Ask who likes basketball. I'm sure all the boys and probably some of the girls, shoot their hands up. So you'd ask for a volunteer. So if I could I get one volunteer, please? Anybody?
I will.
I won't bite.
Yay!
Just paper. You would have them record on a, can I put it over top? Okay. Have them record a simple record sheet. You write their name down. And for this in a classroom, you would do like 10 people, 5 to 10 people, but I'll just do one. Write their name, and those tallies, the circles are for whether they made the shot or not. I'm going to have her. Try to shoot the balls of paper. I go to the recycling bin and ball up pieces of paper. My kids love to do that this morning. They just wanted to keep doing that. And take 10 shots. You record. There's 10 circles. Each one, just put a check on whether she made it or not. And then we'll do that first. You guys help keep. You're supposed to put a piece of tape down on the floor to measure distance.
Certain distance away.
Today we're gonna get that part.
Step up on me, way too.
All right.
1, 2. Yeah.
Slow it down.
The pressure.
3. Oh.
Bank shot. You shouldn't have won.
4.
They're there with those things going round and round. Holding up signs.
One more, I think.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
Yay!
So how much did she make?
5.
5.
5. And how much did she miss?
5.
So, all right, we're learning about decimals today, but how do we learn about decimals? Well, we think about them like fractions. She made 5 shots. Out of how many did she try to make? How many
10.
pieces of paper did she throw? 10. So she made 5 out of 10. That is, you go over the board, 5 over 10. Or as a decimal, that is 0.5. I mean, you would show how to record it using different examples. Then you'd have another student come up and you would have 5 to 10 different examples of the decimals and fractions. You would just record out of each shot made the fraction and then the decimal equivalent.
And just to add on to that, then if you wanted to, you could get them to order the decimals.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you
That's
threw
okay. I
it.
will do that. And then once we figure out all the decimals and the fractions, and then you can say, well, who made the most, who made the least, and in the middle, you know, order from greatest to least, least to greatest, or however you chose.
Okay, and moving along, the next part we're going to talk about goes with different models of fractions. Now, the way she showed it on our recording sheet, you had fractions and you had decimals. So it was seeing 2 different models. Now, this is more of a hands-on model, so if you guys could, we gave you enough, I think, so that people could work in at least 2 groups on each table. Now, we're using a base 10 block. Wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. But we're calling them different things. Now, this is our flat, and these are our longs, and our unit. And so the first thing that we're going to do is how many longs does it take to totally cover your flat? So using your longs, practice at your table and see how many it takes.
When I was second grade, this was a waffle. These are French fries. And these are
That would be a way. What grade is that? You said second?
when I taught second grade.
For some reason, with my daughter, she's in second grade, I had to always equivalent math to
All
food.
right, so when you have an answer, if you could just raise your hand for me so I know that you're ready.
Your waffle.
Okay, so who can tell me how many how many longs did it take to cover your flat? 10, good. Okay, then the next thing we're going to look at is how many, if a flat has a value of 1 whole, what will the value of each long be?
110.
1/10, good. Because it takes 10 to cover the whole thing, so 1 out of 10. And then we are going to look at our units. So if you could take out your units, and I know some of these bags are kind of hard to work with, but how many units does it take to cover your wall?
10.
10. So then we would get into some conversation about how many units it would take to cover the whole flat. We're not going to spend the whole time. So that gives them a basic understanding for their tenths and their hundredths, and it gives them a hands-on representation because I know we've used Study Island, I've used Classcape with them covering this objective, and it shows them, I mean obviously they don't have the blocks, but they're actual model representation, so they're going to have to understand how to use these models to display a decimal, you know, to show them. So this is really important for what they need to learn. Okay, so that's all I want.
So my part is to talk about, we're changing, we've introduced, we've, talked, got the beginning started, we've done the pre-assessment to begin with, and then we got to think about transferring from the actual manipulative to the pencil and paper, because we see on, of course, on the test, we see these kinds of things, and so what they've done, I'm terrible at these things. I can't back up in my truck either using mirrors. I have given, I put on the table a couple of sheets of these, and y'all can just share those and look at. But the kids can work either as individuals or in pairs to do this activity. But laying flat down, of course, there are two spinners here. The top spinner is for how many longs there are. Okay, so if a kid, a student, spins and they wind up with a 6, okay, then they would write 6/10, okay, and they could even pull out 6/10s and put them together if they have the manipulatives there, so that they can have both to look at if you have a child that's having a lot of difficulty with it. Okay, the second one is the hundredths, and you spin that one. Okay, and I'm sorry, not hundredths, ones, the units. So you spin again, and that's how many units that you use, and you can put those together, and they shade in over here how many units that is, and then they can write the actual decimal number and teach them how to do that. And they do several of these. They do about 4 or 5, and you can just walk around and monitor and see what they're doing, and they'll really enjoy doing this kind of thing. And Miss Anderson's going to tell you what you can do to extend that, especially for these children that are AIG like Miss Anderson.
Okay, I'm going to talk about reteaching first, about some students that still have a little bit problem and they still need some help. You can pull them out, of course, separately or as a group. I know that when we're looking at our objectives, we grouped all our children by the objectives, so each child needs to be in a certain group. So you can pull that group out. I like to use my whiteboards because my kids love the whiteboards. And if you give them an expo marker, that is it. So make sure they're not like the brand new ones. But you can pull them out and you can play either a few rounds of this with them, or you can do some rounds of this with them. And what I like to do is when I do pull them out, like I said, I like to use the whiteboards with them for this. And I also use my whiteboards as a whole group because I have marbles. And I'll tell the kids, I'll do this activity, and I'll say, okay, whichever group, can hold up the answer for me. I'll walk around with marbles, and they don't know they're learning. They just think they're playing a game, and it's just the greatest thing. So we'll do this as a game, and I'll put marbles in the jar, and that's like an extension of the math lesson to make sure that I know who knows and who doesn't. And if they don't, like I said, I'll pair someone who knows what they're doing with someone who isn't quite sure yet, and they'll play this game together. I have students do this game, and then what I'll do is I'll have them select the decimals, and then put them in order from smallest to largest or largest to smallest, and we'll just do that, and we'll use hands-on too because they like the manipulatives. They like to do the hands-on. They have to have some of the hands-on because I have some kids in there that if they're not
doing something like this, they're doing something destructive. Not, I don't mean destructive, they're like a lab, you know, they have to be kept busy. But, so like if you want to play this game, what you can do right now as a table, there's an expo marker on your table, and then each of you have a spinner, and you can have someone spin it, and you can work in pairs, and then group your decimals from largest to smallest. And for like the AIG kids, you can also introduce like the hundreds. I mean, you know, one step ahead. Make sure one step.